My son-in-law walked into my house and told me his parents were moving in tomorrow. I'm Daniel Mitchell, 71 years old, retired pastor from Meadowbrook, Texas. Tyler had been circling my property like a vulture for months, but that Tuesday morning he finally showed his true colors. He stood in my living room, the same room where I'd raised 47 foster children, and informed me I was being relocated to assisted living. The moving truck was already booked. My belongings would be packed by strangers. His parents needed space and I was just taking up room that belonged to real family. What Tyler didn't know was that those 47 children had grown up. They'd become doctors, judges, CEOs, and military officers. And they were about to show him exactly what happens when you threaten the man who saved their lives. I watched Tyler lay out his timeline with mathematical precision. Tuesday announcement, Friday packing, Saturday eviction. He'd planned my exile down to the hour. That's when I reached for my phone. By Saturday morning, my quiet street looked like a Fortune 500 parking lot. And Tyler was about to get the education of his lifetime. Tyler Brooks had been dismissing me for 3 years, ever since he married my daughter Maris. From day one, he made it clear he didn't consider me real family. "It's not like you're her biological father," he'd say whenever Maris asked him to include me in family decisions. "You just happened to be there when she needed someone. Just happened to be there." Like raising a traumatized 7-year-old girl for 11 years was some kind of accident. Tyler saw what he wanted to see. A simple churchman driving a beat-up 2007 Honda Civic, shopping at thrift stores, living on a pastor's salary of $34,000 a year. He saw the modest ranch house I'd called home since 1994, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,800 square feet on a quiet street. What Tyler didn't see was the wall of graduation photos in my hallway. 237 pictures spanning 25 years. High school diplomas, college degrees, master's programs, medical school graduations, law school ceremonies. He walked past them every family dinner, never asking questions. "Dan, you need to think about downsizing," he'd say, eyeing my living room. "This place is too big for one person. My parents are getting older. They could really use the space." Maris would shoot him warning looks, but Tyler never backed down. "I'm not trying to be harsh, but let's be practical. You're 71. You don't need 3 bedrooms. My dad's retiring next year, and their apartment lease is up. This house would be perfect for them." Perfect for them. Like I hadn't spent 30 years making it perfect for children who had nowhere else to go. Tyler assumed my quiet responses meant weakness. When I'd say "we'll see" or "let me think about it," he'd exchange glances with his parents like the matter was settled. Last month he got bolder. "Maris isn't even your real daughter," he said during Sunday dinner. "When you pass away, this house should go to actual family members who can appreciate it." Maris went pale. "Tyler, stop. I'm just being realistic. Your foster dad did his good deed, but biology matters. My parents raised 3 kids of their own. They understand what real family means." That night Maris called me crying. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into him. Dad." She'd been calling me that for 24 years. "Don't apologize for him, honey. You're not responsible for his choices." But Tyler wasn't finished. 2 weeks ago, he showed up unannounced with a real estate brochure. "I found you the perfect senior living community," he announced, spreading glossy photos across my kitchen table. "Sunset Gardens. Only 15 minutes from the church. They have activities, meal plans, everything you need." "I'm not interested in moving, Tyler. Come on, be reasonable. You're rattling around in this big house by yourself. My parents could take over the mortgage payments, handle the maintenance. It's a win-win." I looked at those brochures, tiny studio apartments, shared dining rooms, activity schedules. Tyler saw a worn-out old man ready to fade away quietly. He had no idea he was talking to someone who'd fought battles he couldn't imagine, who'd saved lives he'd never know about, who'd built something far more valuable than he could comprehend. "I'll think about it," I said. Tyler smiled like he'd already won. That's when I knew it was time to make those phone calls. Tyler was about to learn the difference between being alone and being surrounded by family. He was about to discover what 47 children look like when they grow up. But first he had one more move to make. What Tyler didn't understand was that this house wasn't just my home. It was the heart of something much bigger than he could imagine. Since 1994, 47 children had walked through that front door. Some stayed for months, others for years. Every single one left knowing they were loved, wanted, and capable of greatness. The living room where Tyler wanted to put his parents' recliners. That's where Amanda Rodriguez did her homework every night for 4 years. She'd been placed with me at age 13 after aging out of 3 different homes. Nobody wanted a teenager with anger issues and failing grades. Last year, she finished her residency in pediatric surgery at Dallas Children's Medical Center. The kitchen where Tyler's mother planned to cook her Sunday roasts. That's where Marcus Williams learned to make pancakes at age 9. He'd come to me after his birth parents' rights were terminated. He was so scared of men that he hid in closets for the first month. Today he's a federal judge in Washington, D.C. The master bedroom Tyler thought would be perfect for his parents. That's where Patricia Johnson recovered from the pneumonia that almost killed her at age 12. She'd been in the system since age 5, bouncing between homes, never finding anyone willing to deal with her medical needs. She's now the CEO of a tech company worth $40 million. Every room held memories Tyler couldn't see. Every corner represented a life transformed. But it wasn't just about the past. This house was still active, still serving its purpose. 3 months ago, I'd received an emergency placement, 8-year-old Emma Chen, whose parents had died in a car accident. She had no relatives able to take her, and the state needed a temporary home while they searched for a permanent family. She was sleeping in what Tyler called the spare bedroom. To her, it was the first place she'd felt safe since losing her parents. If I gave up this house, where did Emma go? Where did future children go when they needed sanctuary? The financial stakes were clear. My 30-year mortgage was almost paid off, only $18,000 remaining on a house now worth $280,000. Tyler's parents would essentially be getting a $250,000 asset for the cost of 18 months' rent. But the real stakes went deeper than money. For 30 years, this house had been the gathering place for my family. Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every graduation party, every wedding celebration, they all happened here. Last Christmas, 23 of my adult children made the trip to Meadowbrook. Doctors flew in from Seattle. Lawyers drove down from Chicago. Teachers came from California. The house was packed with successful adults who still called me Dad. Tyler wanted to erase all of that for his parents' convenience. There was another dimension Tyler couldn't see: my foster care license. Texas had granted me an emergency placement license that allowed me to take children on short notice, like Emma. That license was tied to this specific address. If I gave up the house, I'd lose the license. No more emergency placements. No more sanctuary. Tyler was asking me to abandon my calling, shut down a 30-year mission, and displace a traumatized 8-year-old girl. Also, his parents could have a bigger living room. The emotional stakes were heaviest of all. Maris had been my first adoption. Her birth parents lost custody when she was 7, and she'd spent 6 months in emergency foster care before coming to me. She'd been so damaged by neglect and abuse that she barely spoke for the first year. I spent 11 years proving to her that she was worthy of love. Now her husband was telling her that our bond meant nothing. If I backed down, what would that tell Maris? What would it tell all my children? That love and commitment were just temporary conveniences? Tyler thought he was dealing with a weak old man who'd roll over when pressured. He was about to learn how wrong he was. October 15th arrived like any other Sunday. Maris had invited Tyler's parents over for dinner after church, and I'd prepared my usual pot roast with vegetables from my garden. Tyler's father, Robert Brooks, was a decent man. A retired insurance adjuster who'd worked 40 years for the same company. His mother, Linda, had been a school secretary before arthritis forced early retirement. They weren't bad people, just folks who'd raised their children to believe biological family came first. We were sitting around my dining room table when Tyler decided to make his move. "Dad, Mom," he said, addressing his parents. "I've been talking to Dan about his housing situation." Maris tensed immediately. Tyler pulled out a manila folder and placed it on the table. "Dan's been thinking about downsizing, haven't you?" He looked at me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "This house is really too much for one person to manage." "Tyler," Maris warned quietly. "Let me finish, honey. This affects everyone." Tyler opened the folder and spread out documents. I've done some research on senior living communities. Several excellent options within 15 minutes of here. Robert Brooks shifted uncomfortably. Son, we never asked. You don't have to ask, Dad. Family takes care of family. Tyler's voice carried that tone he used when explaining obvious things to slow people. Dan understands the situation. He's lived here alone for 3 years since his last foster placement ended. It's time for practical decisions. I watched him lay out brochures for assisted living facilities. Sunset Gardens, Golden Years Community, Peaceful Meadows Retirement Village. Smiling elderly people playing chess, doing crafts, eating institutional meals. The beauty of this arrangement, Tyler continued, is that everyone benefits. Dan gets the care and social interaction he needs. You two get a beautiful home with no mortgage payments. The house stays in the family. Real family, his tone implied. Linda Brooks looked at me with genuine concern. Daniel, is this what you want? You've been in this house for 30 years. Before I could answer, Tyler jumped in. He's been thinking about it for months. Face facts, you're not Maris's real father. When you're gone, this house would naturally go to her, and then to us. We're just expediting the process. The silence was deafening. Maris's face went white. Tyler, how dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth. Tyler's mask was slipping. I'm not trying to be cruel, but let's be realistic. Dan did a nice thing taking you in, but that doesn't make him family. Blood makes family. Biology makes family. Robert Brooks cleared his throat. Son, that's not. Dad, please. I'm handling this. Tyler turned back to me. Dan, you raised Maris and we're grateful. But she's married now. She has a real family to think about. My parents are getting older. They need help. You need care. It's perfect timing. I set down my fork. Tyler, when you say real family, what exactly do you mean? He blinked. People who are actually related. Shared genetics. Natural family bonds. I see. And the people in those pictures on my wall, the graduates, the wedding photos, the Christmas cards from 23 states, they're not real either. They're nice memories, Dan, but they're not family. They were temporary placements. Good deeds. They've moved on with their lives. Maris stood up abruptly. I can't listen to this. Sit down, honey. Let the adults finish talking. Tyler didn't even look at her. Dan, I've prepared the paperwork. The moving truck can be here Tuesday morning. Sunset Gardens is expecting you Wednesday. Clean, simple transition. The moving truck, I repeated slowly. Tuesday at 9 a.m. I've already booked it. Tyler smiled like he just solved everyone's problems. 3 days should be enough time to pack what you want to keep. The furniture can stay with the house. He'd orchestrated the entire takeover. Made decisions about my life without once asking what I wanted. Assumed I was too old, too weak, too unimportant to resist. I signed every report card for 12 years, I said quietly. Tyler shrugged. That doesn't make you family. Blood does. I looked at this man who just dismissed 30 years of my life. Then I smiled. I understand completely, Tyler. Let me make some phone calls. The slight satisfaction in Tyler's eyes told me everything. He thought he'd won. He had no idea what was coming. After dinner, Tyler and his parents left with smug satisfaction. The moving truck was scheduled, the facility was expecting me, and the house transfer seemed inevitable. Maris stayed behind, pacing my living room. Dad, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was planning this. Tears streamed down her face. I can't believe he said those things. It's not your fault, sweetheart. But it is. I married him. I brought him into our lives. I hugged my daughter, my real daughter, adoption papers or not, and felt her shoulders shake. Don't worry about Tyler. He doesn't understand what he's dealing with. What do you mean? I walked to my desk and opened the bottom drawer, the one I usually kept locked. Inside were business cards, letters, photographs, and documents Tyler had never bothered to examine. Remember Dr. Rodriguez? Maris's eyes brightened. Amanda? Of course. She lived with us for 4 years. I handed her a business card. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, pediatric surgery, Dallas Children's Medical Center. Expensive, thick stock, embossed lettering. She sent this last month with her Christmas card. Wanted me to have her direct number in case I ever needed anything. I pulled out another card. Judge Marcus Williams, Federal District Court, Washington, D.C. Maris's eyes widened. Marcus? Little Marcus who used to hide in closets. 26 years old now. Youngest federal judge in Texas history. The business cards kept coming. Patricia Johnson, CEO. Dr. Stephen Murphy, orthopedic surgeon. Professor Janet Richardson, Harvard Law School. Detective Lieutenant Carlos Santos, Dallas PD. Captain Maria Gonzalez, United States Air Force. Dad, Maris whispered. What are all these? Christmas cards, sweetheart. Thank you notes. Graduation announcements. Wedding invitations. 47 successful adults who still send me updates about their lives. I opened a folder filled with photographs, graduation ceremonies, wedding pictures, family portraits featuring children and grandchildren who'd been told stories about their grandpa Dan. Look at this one. I handed Maris a photo from last Christmas. 23 adults crowded into my living room, all wearing matching t-shirts that read Team Mitchell. They had these made special for our family reunion. Maris stared at the photo in amazement. I remember some of these faces, but they all look so successful. Success was always the goal. Every child who came through that door was told the same thing. You matter. You're capable of greatness. An education is your ticket to anywhere you want to go. My phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID. Dr. Rodriguez. Amanda, sweetheart. How are you? Dad. Her voice carried the same excitement it had when she was 15 and got an A on a difficult exam. I got your message about needing to talk. What's going on? Just some family business I need to handle. Nothing urgent. Family business? Who's giving you trouble? The protective edge in her voice was unmistakable. My son-in-law thinks it's time for me to move to assisted living. The silence was ominous. He thinks what? He's arranged everything. Moving truck Tuesday, new apartment Wednesday. Dad, do you want to move? Not particularly. Another silence. Then, give me his name and number. I need to have a conversation with this man. That's not necessary, Amanda. I can handle. Dad. Her voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to making life and death decisions. Give me his information and call Marcus and Patricia. This requires immediate attention. After I hung up, Maris looked at me with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Dad, what just happened? I think Tyler's about to get an education in what real family looks like. The following Wednesday was our church's monthly potluck dinner. First Baptist Church of Meadowbrook had been my spiritual home for 30 years. Tyler knew how important these events were to me. That's exactly why he chose this moment for his most brutal attack. I was serving green bean casserole to Mrs. Peterson when Tyler walked in with his parents. They'd never attended a church function before, but tonight they looked like they were on a mission. Tyler wore his best suit and carried that manila folder, thicker now. His parents flanked him like backup singers. Attention everyone, Tyler announced, his voice cutting through the friendly chatter. I have an announcement to make. The fellowship hall fell quiet. 43 people turned to look. Pastor Williams stepped forward. Tyler, is everything all right? Actually, Pastor, I'm glad you're here. This concerns the whole congregation. Tyler opened his folder with theatrical flourish. As many of you know, Dan Mitchell has been living alone for several years now. At 71, he's reached the point where he needs professional care. Murmurs rippled through the room. Now, I know this is difficult to discuss, Tyler continued, his voice dripping with false sympathy. But sometimes families have to make hard decisions. Dan's been generous with his time and his home, but it's time for real family to step up. Mrs. Henderson, who'd taught Sunday school for 40 years, raised her hand. Tyler, dear, Dan seems perfectly capable of managing his own affairs. Ma'am, with respect, you see him for a few hours on Sundays. I live with this reality every day. Tyler pulled out documents, medical brochures, assisted living pamphlets, legal papers I'd never seen. My parents need housing. Dan needs professional care. It's the perfect solution. Robert Brooks shifted uncomfortably. Son, maybe this isn't the right venue. Dad, please. The church community needs to understand the situation. Tyler's voice grew stronger. For 3 years, I've been watching Dan struggle with basic household maintenance, bill-paying, social isolation. He's holding on to space that could benefit a real family. That phrase again. Real family. Deacon Miller stood up slowly. Tyler, I'm confused. Dan serves on 3 church committees. He teaches Bible study every Wednesday. He volunteers at the food bank. What exactly are you seeing that we're not? Tyler smiled like a teacher addressing a slow student. Respectfully, sir, you're seeing what Dan wants you to see. His foster care days are over. He served his purpose, and now it's time for him to step aside gracefully. The temperature in the room dropped. Furthermore, Tyler continued, emboldened by the shocked silence, Dan's relationship with Maris was always temporary. Foster care is a service, not a permanent family bond. She has a real family now, me, my parents, and someday our children. Dan's been generous, but biological family has to come first. Maris finally found her voice. Tyler, stop. Please. Honey, someone has to speak the truth. Tyler turned back to the congregation. I've arranged professional care for Dan at Sunset Gardens. My parents will take over his house. The transition happens this weekend. He said it like he was announcing a bake sale. Already decided. Pastor Williams looked stunned. Tyler. This seems like something that should be discussed privately. Private discussions don't work, Pastor. Dan's been resistant to change. Elderly people struggle with transitions. But I have a responsibility to my wife and parents to make practical decisions. Mrs. Henderson stood up, all 5 feet of her bristling with indignation. Young man, I've known Daniel Mitchell for 30 years. I've watched him raise 47 children that nobody else wanted. Don't you dare stand in our church and tell us he's not real family to those children. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Tyler's mask slipped, revealing irritation. Ma'am, emotion doesn't change biology. Those children were temporary placements. Good deeds. They've moved on with their lives. Deacon Miller's face turned red. Son, you're talking about a man who's dedicated his life to children in need. Show some respect. I am showing respect. Tyler's voice rose. I'm respecting reality. Blood relatives should have priority over temporary arrangements. He raised his voice above the noise. The moving truck comes Saturday morning. Saturday morning. He'd moved up the timeline. Pastor Williams tried to restore order. Tyler, I think we need to table this discussion. There's nothing to discuss, Pastor. The arrangements are made. Dan understands this is best for everyone. All eyes turned to me. 43 people who'd known me for decades, waiting to see how I'd respond. I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of every year. Every child I'd raised, every battle I'd fought. Tyler's right about one thing, I said quietly. It's time for realistic decisions. Tyler smiled triumphantly. I need to make some phone calls. And I think this congregation is about to see what real family actually looks like. The smile faded from Tyler's face. Because you're right, Tyler. Playtime is over. Thursday morning my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Dad, I just got off a conference call with Marcus and Patricia. Amanda's voice carried the crisp efficiency of someone who'd spent years coordinating medical emergencies. We're mobilizing the family. Amanda, you don't need to. Dad, stop. This isn't negotiable. Nobody disrespects you like that and walks away clean. Over the next hour the calls kept coming. Marcus from Washington, his federal judge authority evident. Patricia from Silicon Valley, coordinating logistics with CEO Precision. Dr. Stephen Murphy from Seattle, arranging to fly in Friday night. By noon, my quiet house had become mission control. Dad, we need a full list, Amanda said during her third call. Everyone available to travel needs to know the situation. Honey, this is between Tyler and me. You all have your own lives. Our own lives. Patricia's voice cut in from California. Dad, you gave us our lives. Every success we achieved started in that house with you believing in us when nobody else would. Marcus joined from his DC office. Patricia's right. Amanda, what's the timeline? Tyler announced Saturday morning for the move. I'm thinking we arrive Friday evening. Full family present Saturday morning. Agreed. I can get 17 people from the East Coast. Patricia. 12 from California and the Northwest. Stevens coordinating another 8 from the Midwest. I listened to my children, my real children, coordinate a response with military precision. These weren't the broken kids who'd come to me years ago. These were adults with power, resources, and unshakable loyalty. Friday afternoon, the first cars started arriving. Dear Amanda Rodriguez pulled up in a silver Mercedes at 3 p.m., still wearing scrubs from her morning surgery. She hugged me like she was 15 again, all professional composure melting. Where is he, Dad? This Tyler character. At work, I assume. Dallas is 2 hours. I've flown longer distances for lesser emergencies. She surveyed my house with analytical eyes. This place looks exactly the same. God, the memories. Judge Marcus Williams arrived 20 minutes later in a black town car with government plates. At 35, he carried himself with quiet authority unimaginable in the terrified 9-year-old who'd hidden in my closets. Dad. His hug was fierce, protective. I've reviewed Texas property law. What Tyler's attempting has zero legal standing. You want me to shut this down with paperwork? Let's see what tomorrow brings first. By 6 p.m., my driveway looked like a luxury car dealership. Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, Tesla. Vehicles worth more than most people's houses. Dr. Stephen Murphy flew in on a private jet with his wife and twin daughters. Dad, the girls wanted to meet their grandfather, he explained, lifting 2 8-year-olds who called me Grandpa Dan despite never having met me before. Professor Janet Richardson arrived from Harvard with her husband and teenage son. Detective Lieutenant Carlos Santos drove down from Dallas, still radiating the quiet intensity that made him one of the department's most respected investigators. Captain Maria Gonzalez came in full dress uniform. CEO Patricia Johnson stepped out of a chauffeur-driven SUV, looking like she'd walked off the cover of Fortune magazine. By 8 p.m., 23 adults and 12 children filled my modest house. The same living room Tyler wanted for his parents' recliners now buzzed with conversation between surgeons, lawyers, professors, executives, and military officers. But they weren't showcasing success. They were sharing memories. Remember when Dad taught us to change oil in the driveway? Carlos laughed. I was 16, convinced I'd never need to know that stuff. He made us all learn basic car maintenance, Amanda added. Said independence started with not depending on others for simple repairs. Marcus nodded. Same with budgeting. Every Friday night, financial literacy lessons at the kitchen table. Patricia pulled out her phone. Dad, I named my main conference room after you. The Daniel Mitchell Innovation Center. Your philosophy about believing in impossible things hangs on the wall in bronze letters. Maris moved through the crowd in amazement. Patricia, I can't believe you run a company worth $40 million. Patricia smiled. Dad always said we were capable of greatness. He just made us believe it ourselves. As the evening progressed, the conversation turned strategic. So what's the plan for tomorrow? Amanda asked. Judge Williams leaned forward. Simple. Tyler expects to find a week-old man ready to surrender his house. Instead, he'll find 47 successful adults who consider that man their father and this house their family home. What time did he say the moving truck would arrive? Patricia asked. 9 a.m. Captain Gonzalez checked her watch. Perfect. We'll be in position by 8:30. Full family presence, professional attire, peaceful but unmistakable message. Carlos nodded. No threats, no drama. Just the truth standing in his driveway. The truth being? Maris asked. That Dad didn't raise 47 children, Marcus said quietly. He raised 47 adults who protect their family. Amanda stood up, surveying the room. Tyler wanted to know what real family looks like. Tomorrow morning, he gets his education. By 10 p.m., most of my children had checked into hotels, but several insisted on staying overnight. Amanda took her old room. Marcus slept on the living room couch he'd claimed as his favorite spot 25 years ago. Patricia set up a laptop in the kitchen to handle West Coast business calls. As I lay in bed listening to my children's voices drifting through the house, I realized Tyler had made a fundamental miscalculation. He'd seen a lonely old man in a house too big for one person. What he'd failed to see was the heart of a family stretching across 23 states. Doctors, judges, CEOs, professors, military officers, and law enforcement professionals who'd spent decades proving that love matters more than blood. Tomorrow, Tyler would learn the difference between being alone and being surrounded by family. Saturday morning arrived crisp and clear. I woke at 5:30 to the smell of coffee and bacon. Amanda was already cooking breakfast. "Big day, Dad. You ready?" I looked out the window at my driveway. By 8 a.m. the transformation was complete. 47 luxury vehicles lined both sides of Meadowbrook Street. Mercedes sedans, BMW SUVs, Teslas, Lexuses, a fleet worth over $3 million, creating a corridor of success leading to my front door. But the cars were just the beginning. 47 adults in professional attire stood in perfect formation across my front lawn. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez in her white coat, Judge Marcus Williams in a charcoal suit, CEO Patricia Johnson in executive attire. Military precision guided their positioning, medical professionals on the left, legal experts in the center, business executives on the right. Each person held a small sign with their name and title. Dr. Stephen Murphy, Chief of Orthopedic Surgery. Professor Janet Richardson, Harvard Law School. Detective Lieutenant Carlos Santos, Dallas PD, CEO Michael Thompson, Thompson Industries. 47 signs. 47 success stories. 47 lives that had started in the house behind them. At 8:45, neighbors began emerging from their houses. Mrs. Peterson stood on her porch in amazement. Word was spreading. At 8:57, Tyler's pickup truck turned onto Meadowbrook Street. I watched from my front window as his confident expression dissolved into confusion, then shock, then something approaching panic. He had to park 3 blocks away. The street was completely filled. Tyler walked slowly toward my house, head swiveling left and right, taking in the impossible scene. His parents followed behind, Robert clutching the lease papers for Sunset Gardens, Linda staring at the professional crowd with growing amazement. The moving truck rounded the corner at exactly 9 a.m., then stopped dead. The driver couldn't get within 200 yards of my house. Tyler approached the edge of my property and stopped. 47 pairs of eyes watched him with focused attention. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "You must be Tyler Brooks." Tyler's mouth opened and closed. What is this?" "I'm Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, Chief of Pediatric Surgery at Dallas Children's Medical Center." She gestured toward the crowd. "These are my brothers and sisters." Judge Williams stepped up beside her. Marcus Williams, Federal District Court, Washington, D.C. CEO Johnson joined them. Patricia Johnson, Innovate Tech Solutions. One by one, 47 successful adults introduced themselves. Each name, each title hitting Tyler like physical blows. Dr. Michael Chun, Cardiothoracic Surgery, Mayo Clinic. Professor Maris Davis, MIT Engineering Department. Colonel James Rodriguez, U.S. Air Force. CEO Jennifer Murphy, Murphy Construction. $200 million in annual revenue. Tyler's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and growing horror as the truth became undeniable. "We understand," Amanda continued, "that you have some questions about our father's living situation. Your father, Daniel Mitchell, the man who raised us, the man who saved our lives, the man you think should be moved to assisted living, so your parents can have his house." The crowd shifted slightly, a subtle movement that made them appear even more formidable. Marcus Williams opened a leather portfolio. "I've reviewed your proposal, Mr. Brooks. Legally speaking, it's fascinating. You want to remove a competent adult from his home based on what exactly?" He's old. He lives alone. My parents need." "Your parents need." Patricia Johnson's CEO voice could have frozen water. "Let me tell you what our father needs. He needs respect for the 30 years he spent raising society's forgotten children. He needs recognition for the 47 lives he saved. He needs acknowledgement that love and sacrifice matter more than biology." Tyler looked desperately toward the moving truck, still blocked 3 blocks away. "You don't understand. Maris is my wife. This is a family matter." "You're absolutely right," Amanda said. "This is a family matter." She gestured toward the crowd. 47 children, 12 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. All of us consider Dan Mitchell our father and this house our family home. But you're not really. "Not really what?" Colonel Rodriguez stepped forward. His military bearing unmistakable. Not really family? I've been calling this man Dad for 22 years. He walked me down the aisle. My children call him Grandpa. What part of that isn't real? Tyler's parents had gone pale. Linda whispered to her husband, "Robert, what have we done?" Dr. Murphy addressed them directly. "Mr. and Mrs. Brooks, I don't think you understand what your son was asking Dan to give up. This house isn't just a building. It's the heart of a family that spans the country. Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every celebration happens here. This is where broken children learned they were worthy of love." "We didn't know," Robert stammered. "Tyler told you as Dan was alone. That he needed care." "Does he look like he needs care?" Professor Richardson gestured toward me as I stepped onto my front porch. I walked down to join my children, and they parted to make room for me in the center of their protective formation. "Tyler," I said quietly, "I believe you wanted to discuss my housing situation." Tyler looked around at the 47 successful adults surrounding him, at the luxury cars lining the street, at the neighbors watching from their porches, at the moving truck stranded blocks away. This isn't. This is exactly what it is," Amanda said firmly. "This is what happens when you threaten our father. This is what real family looks like." Tyler's mouth moved soundlessly. The moving truck driver walked toward us, clipboard in hand. "Sir? We can't get to the house. Should we reschedule?" Tyler looked at the driver, then at the crowd, then at me. "Cancel it," he whispered. "What was that?" Judge Williams cupped his ear theatrically. "Cancel the truck." Tyler's voice broke. "Cancel everything." The transformation was complete. The confident man who demanded my house 3 days ago had been reduced to a stammering shell by the simple presence of my family. My real family. The one that mattered. The aftermath spread through Meadowbrook like wildfire. By noon Saturday, someone had filmed the confrontation. The video went viral within hours. Foster Dad's 47 successful children defend family home. Hit 50,000 views in the first day. But the consequences went far beyond internet fame. Monday morning, Tyler arrived at Brooks Construction, his father-in-law's company where he worked as project supervisor, to find a pink slip on his desk. "I'm sorry, son," Robert Brooks told him. "After seeing what you tried to do to that good man, I can't have you representing our family business. The church renovation contract was our biggest project. Now they won't even return my calls." First Baptist had indeed canceled their $250,000 renovation contract. Pastor Williams made clear that anyone who would publicly humiliate a respected congregation member was not welcome on church property. But the financial consequences were just the beginning. Maris moved back into my house that same Saturday, taking Emma-chun with her. The 8-year-old had watched the entire confrontation from the upstairs window. "I can't be married to someone who would treat you like that," Maris told me through tears. "Tyler showed me who he really is." Marriage counseling lasted exactly 2 sessions. Tyler spent both trying to justify his actions, showing complete inability to acknowledge wrongdoing. The divorce papers were filed within 6 weeks. Perhaps the most devastating consequence was social. Tyler had lived in Meadowbrook his entire life, but after the confrontation, he became a pariah. The video had been viewed by everyone in town. The barbershop where he'd gotten haircuts for 20 years suddenly had no available appointments. The diner where he'd eaten lunch every Friday was fully booked. Even the gas station treated him with cold politeness. Linda Brooks was mortified. She'd been active in the church auxiliary for 15 years, but after the potluck incident, she couldn't face her friends. "I raised him better than this," she told me during a tearful phone call. "Robert and I are moving to Florida. We can't stay here after what Tyler did." His brother in Houston cut off contact. His cousins stopped inviting him to gatherings. The annual Brooks family reunion, 40 years of tradition, was canceled because nobody wanted Tyler there. 3 months later, Tyler left Meadowbrook entirely. He moved to Austin where nobody knew his story, but the video followed him everywhere. Potential employers Googled his name. Dating apps led to awkward conversations. Meanwhile, the positive effects for my real family were extraordinary. The viral video led to donations for our local foster care program, exceeding $100,000. 3 other families in Meadowbrook applied for foster care licenses, Inspired by our story, Emma-chan, the 8-year-old who'd witnessed everything, started calling me Grandpa Dan. Her permanent adoption was finalized 4 months later, making her officially child number 48. And every Sunday at church, when Pastor Williams asked for testimonies of God's faithfulness, somebody would mention the morning when 47 adults stood on my lawn to defend their father. Tyler had wanted to prove that blood makes family. Instead, he'd proven the opposite. Love makes family. Choice makes family. Sacrifice makes family. Blood is just biology. Family is everything else. 6 months later, I was working in my garden when a familiar truck pulled into my driveway. Tyler climbed out slowly. His confidence was gone, replaced by something that looked like humility. He'd lost weight, gained gray hair, and carried himself like a man who'd learned hard lessons. Dan, could we talk? I set down my pruning shears and looked at the man who'd once tried to take everything from me. What's on your mind, Tyler? I owe you an apology. A real one. His voice shook slightly. I was wrong about everything, about family, about you, about what matters. I let greed and pride convince me I was entitled to something that wasn't mine. I appreciate that, Tyler. Could there ever be a chance for me to earn forgiveness? From Maris? From you. I looked at this broken man and saw what I'd always seen in damaged children who came to my door. Someone capable of redemption. Family isn't who shares your blood, Tyler. It's who chooses to stand by you, even when you've made mistakes. Real forgiveness requires real change. Are you ready for that kind of work? He nodded, tears in his eyes. Then we'll see what's possible.